What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review of Queen Sugar season 4, episode 10. We only have 3 more episodes left after this, so we're closely getting to the end of the season. Couple of things before I get started. First of all, I want to just something went down in my comments last week, with last week's episode. I want to just clarify something, and this is coming from a place of I am very familiar with addiction as far as I've dealt with it in my family. I have been part of Al Anon. Al Anon is a support group for people who have family members who are in AA or NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. So last week's episode, we saw the situation with Darla and the guy that she was dating. And a lot of people felt like he should have done more to help Darla. But what people need to understand is when you're dealing with someone who has an addiction, and what he was telling her, because he was telling her, call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. You need help. I see what's getting ready to happen, and I need you to do it. Two things. One, it's kind of like when you're on an airplane and they say, if there's in case of emergency, secure your oxygen mask first before you do anybody else, including children. You got to take care of yourself first. And so he could not, somebody was like, well, he could have helped her. He could have done this. He can't do any of that for Darla. Darla is the addict. Darla has to reach out for the help. He can't help her because all he can do is lead that horse to water, which he did by telling her, call your sponsor. You need to call your sponsor. I am telling you, you need help. He told her on more than one occasion, you need help. I see you spiraling. She took it as him questioning her strength and questioning whether she was strong enough to handle this situation. And that's not what he was doing. The second thing is he has his own addiction. That's why when people are going through AA or NA, they say that first of all they don't encourage you to date anybody else that has an addiction because it is so hard. Again, it is so hard to carry a drowning person without drowning. That's what one of the biggest dangers with lifeguards are is that they're trying to save somebody and that person is flailing so hard they end up taking both of them underwater. And so Darla is flailing. And if he has to let go or he's going to drown too because he knows his own sobriety. He said, look, I have relapsed a couple of times and he knows his own sobriety. So I just wanted to say that I don't want to preach at nobody, but you can't look at it from a regular situation. He has an addiction as well. And what he's saying to her is, I can't go down this road with you or I'm going to relapse. And so until you get help, he wasn't saying he didn't want to deal with her. He was saying until you get help, until you accept that you are at a fragile state and you get the help you need. Because, like he said, I'm not judging you for your past, but I know where I would be right now if my past came back to haunt me on a national scale. So, now, with that being said, that's the first thing. The second thing is, y'all gonna probably be real pissed off with me by the end of this episode because I did not like this episode, and I'll be real honest about how I felt about some things, and y'all gonna probably not be happy with me when it's over, but let's go. So we start this episode off with Nova. She done camped out at Anvi's establishment. Anvi done told her, look, you're not welcome here. Nova said, look, you won't give me the time of day at the house, so I figure I could just sit here until, she said, I know I was wrong. She was like, don't give up on me. Please, we're still family. All that good stuff. The apology tour has started. And she says, Nova says to, and Vi tells her, she said, you opened up some wounds and you brought back some feelings that are affecting everything with me. They're affecting my life, my health, my marriage. And she said, you're right. I should have talked to you. I'm sorry. I should have talked to you. But Ava asked the question that was very important. She said, and if I had told you no, would you still have done it? And Nova knows that she would have. And with that, and Vi was like, and I rest my case. And she walks off. Then we see where her and Charlie have a conversation. And it's still very contentious. It's still, you can feel the tension. She gives Nova a birthday gift. Nova was like, my birthday until next week. She said, yeah, but it's basically a thank you gift for what you did last week, and I don't want to lose my nerve, so you better go on and take it now before I change my mind. It's basically what she said. Um, but they have a very contentious conversation, and Charlie says, once this bill is voted on and passed, I'm gonna be in campaign mode full throttle. So I have a little bit of time I want to, let's, do you want to go and get out of town with me somewhere? And of course, Nova is like, what? You want to take a trip with me? Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go. And so they end up going on this daggone retreat to this little, they call it rustic, but they out in the woods. They ain't even got a bathroom and they in a little tent. And I'm sure Nova, I mean, Charlie felt like this would be a good opportunity for us to really talk. So they talk about Remy. It's something I forget. I missed y'all, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but Nova says, well, you and Remy never, basically, she said, y'all never slept together. So I thought it was all right for me to go there. I really did like him. I really had feelings for him. I know that's not, what you want to hear. And I was wrong. And Charlie was like, what do you mean we never slept together? And at that point, I'm like, Charlie, why don't you correct him? Because didn't they sleep together? I remember Remy was having a hard time going there, but I really think they actually went there. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I'm pretty certain they slept together. And I didn't understand why Charlie didn't correct her. Well, first of all, what gave you the impression that we never slept together? And second of all, that still don't make it okay. You knew that this is a man that I was dating. But again, she apologized and said she was wrong. And they had this whole conversation. She was saying, Nova was like, I realize now that, I don't ask for permission because I don't want to hear the no's. And I knew if I had, in hindsight, I should have talked to you guys about what I was doing, but I knew that if I had talked to you guys about what I was doing, I knew in the back in my heart of hearts, I knew you guys would have said no and you wouldn't have approved it. And so Charlie was like, so basically, what you're telling me is you're the kind of person that you'd rather ask for forgiveness than for permission. Nova was like, yeah, I guess so. Charlie was like, so how's that working out for you? Then they have I think, a really good moment where, and I'm just knocking this out the way, y'all, because I got to get to the part that really irritates me. They have a good moment where, it's one of those situations. Y'all ever heard the story? There's three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. And they talk about the last time they shared a room together because they're sharing this tent. And Noah remembers it one way and Charlie remembers it another way. And it just goes to show that perspective and lack of communication is so interesting. So Nova had gone out to visit Charlie. And of course, Charlie was living good out there in California. Her mom was comfortable, had money. Charlie ran in the right circles and had a certain type of group she hung in. And Nova already showed up with a chip on her shoulder, I feel like. She said she was a freshman in college at that time. And she talks about how, from her perspective, Charlie made her feel little. She said, you kept taking me places that you knew I couldn't afford. You took me there over and over again. And Charlie was like, but I was treating you. Like, I wasn't asking you to pay. I thought I was showing you a good time. I thought that I was taking you to some nice places, some nice establishments. Nova took it as a dig. And again, that's Nova having a chip on her shoulder, because for you to assume that someone is trying to put you down because they're trying to take you to a nice place that they ain't asking you to pay for. Then she said that they went to this party, and Charlie said when they got there, Charlie said, just relax and act like you belong. And again, Nova took it as, you're saying I don't belong in this circle of people. I would have taken it as, act like you live here, act like you know these people, like you're from out of town, don't nobody know you. Act like you belong, girl. Act like you're part of this group. But that's how she took it. And then she said that, Charlie sort of left her alone to fend for herself the majority of the night. And when she did catch up with Charlie, she overheard someone asking her, oh, is that your sister? And Charlie said, oh, she's just my half sister. She's all right, but you can't pick your family. And Charlie probably said that. Charlie was probably a little bitch. I'm not going to sit here and say that Charlie is innocent in this, but it just is interesting, the perspective, because Charlie was like, I don't remember saying that. And Charlie probably said it. Because we know how Charlie was when she showed up at St. Joe's 3 years ago. Charlie probably said that shit. But the fact that they have totally different memories of the same event. And a lot of it comes down to, and Charlie said, every time I feel like we're getting closer, every time I feel like we're getting past some of our boundaries, I realize we just don't know each other as well as we thought we did. So that was that. They didn't really go back to them. That was kind of where we left them. I'm hoping that we're gonna pick up on something next week. I'm hoping that ain't the end of the retreat because I feel like it's so much more that they need to say. And again, I don't know why Charlie didn't correct Nova with the whole. I don't know why she didn't correct Nova with the whole we didn't sleep together thing because I could have sworn y'all give me together in them comments, but I could have sworn like I said, I know they had a hard time because Remy was having a hard time letting go of his wife and feeling guilty about sleeping with another woman after his wife. But I thought they had gotten past that barrier. I'm almost certain I remember that love scene, but neither here nor there. We keep it moving. Then Blue. Micah's taking Blue out for the day to a little amusement park down in New Orleans, and Darla is, got the day to herself. I'm assuming that Darla did not drink that bottle of liquor last week, but we know that it got close. And she gets a phone call from her mom, and her mother says, "Hey, Jay's in town." I guess I don't know. I made up a name. And Darla was like, "Oh, really?" And her whole demeanor changed. She was like, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "That was your best friend, and why don't you guys hang out?" And she was like, "Yeah, you always did like her, didn't you?" "Yes, I did. I thought she was great." I knew then. I said, "She ain't no good. Whoever this is was somebody Darla used to get high with and roll with back in the day." But okay. So Darla tries to tell her mother she don't want to hook up with the girl, but her mother's pretty insistent. So finally, Darla's like, "All right, well, fine. Give me her number." So they hook up, they go out to lunch, and of course the girl is talking about, how horrible things are in DC, and it's just the same people over and over again, and she's throwing them back, honey. She's throwing them drinks back. And Darla is just sitting there like listening to her, but so uninterested. And she starts talking about, I'm thinking about moving to New Orleans. What's the party scene like? And Darla's like, I wouldn't know. I live in St. Joe's. It's real quiet here. It's real slow here. Like, that's my life now. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Your mother told me you dried up. But you don't mind if I drink, do you? She's like, I'm going to slow down one day. Then she gets to talking about the night in Georgetown. And we remember that the night in Georgetown was the night that Blue was conceived. And she talks about how out of it they were and how high they were that night and how drunk they were and how she slept with Michael in front of all of them and they all sat there and watched it go down. Then she went into the bathroom with Chad. And she was in the bathroom with Chad for about an hour and a half and Darla starts spiraling. She's like, What? What happened? What? And then she realized that the night that she conceived Blue, she ain't sleep with just one other guy, she slept with two. And this is we're gonna get to that in a minute, but this is where I start feeling like, and that's what does it. Like Darla has been teetering for the last couple of weeks, but that is what does it. That's what pushes her over the edge. She goes to the bar, baby, and she throws them back. She probably hit about 4 or 5 shots, drunk as a skunk. Okay, we're gonna get back to Miss Darla. While this is going on, Blue is at the park with Micah, and they get to talking about Daisha. And Blue says, I think Pops likes Joa's mom. I think Pops like Daisha. And Michael asked him, well, how do you feel about that? And Blue's kind of like, you could tell he was not happy or he's uncomfortable about it. And then Micah becomes a really great big uncle. And he talks to him about it and lets him know, like, look, no matter what goes down, your family still loves you. They're going to always be there. He said, I felt that way when my parents separated at first. And, he said, but it used to make me sad. He said, but now I realize that I think they're happier with their other friends than they were together. And I'm okay. And he said, so you're not sad anymore? And he said, well, sometimes I get sad. He said, but the best thing is you get two of everything. You get two presents at Christmas. You get two presents for your birthday. And so they had a moment. And that was a good thing for Blue to have that conversation with Micah. But then later on, Blue has to go to the bathroom, baby. And that line for the men's room. And Micah said, well, let me go with you. And Blue's like, I can go by myself. I'm good. And I said, we already know something about to go down. So he gets in line, and the line is too long. He got to go. He about to pee on himself. Micah goes to answer a phone call, and while he's answering the phone call, Kiki texts him. And while he's answering the text, they find out that his friend is coming home from jail. Blue done ran, excuse me, Blue done ran into the girls' bathroom because he had to go to the bathroom that bad. And he went to the girls' bathroom. So when Micah looks up to find him, he's gone. And Micah gets nervous. So, like any of us would. And he's searching for him, and so he walks off thinking that Blue done walked off. Blue comes out the bathroom and can't find Micah, so he does what he's supposed to do. He finds a police officer, tells the police officer what's going on. The police officer said, "Don't worry about it. This happens all the time. Why don't you sit in my car until we can find your cousin?" And he calls into the office and he does what he's supposed to do. So here's where the problem comes into play. The problem comes into play when Micah walks up on the police officer and he starts running towards Blue. Now, something as innocent as putting him in the back of a police car, which is something that probably would not have bothered me 3 or 4 years ago, hit me real bad tonight. You know what I'm saying? I was like, why that baby got to sit in the back of the police car? He could have sat up front. He could have leaned against it with you. You know what I mean? I don't feel like the police officer meant any harm by it. I really don't. But again, it's just where we are in society today that thing hit me some kind of way. But Micah comes running up, and the police officer stops Micah and said, "Wait a minute, sir, hold on, hold on." And he says, "That's my cousin. That's my cousin." Now, again, up until that point, the police officer wasn't wrong. You can't just let some old stranger come and claim him. Now he gonna say, "Let me see some ID." He was like, "Why?" Because here's the thing: what was his ID going to tell you? What you should have done was what you ended up doing, which was turn around and ask Blue, "Do you know this man?" And Blue said, "Yes, that's my cousin." End of the situation. But you start asking him from ID, and of course, Micah was like, "Why? Why do you need my ID?" "Sir, I just need you to do what I asked you to do." Micah was like, "Why? I haven't done anything wrong. That is my cousin. Just ask him. That's my cousin." And he goes to put his hand on his weapon. And it's like, what's that for? Like, why? How do we get from 0 to 100? And the police officer sort of, I guess he catches himself and he sort of calms down. So then he turns to Blue and says, "Do you know him?" And he said, "Yeah, that's my cousin." And of course they hug and they reunite, and it is what it is. But once again, it's like, why did it even escalate to that? Like, why did it even have to go there? So then the guys are back at the house, Mr. Prosper, Ralph Angel, and Hollywood, and they having a conversation about all they women. All of them are with their women now. Prosper talking about his baby, his bae, talking about he's sweet on her. I said, "You better tell him, Mr. Prosper, you sweet on her." And Ralph Angel lets them know that he's thinking about trying to make it official with Daisha. That he's gonna ask her to be, let's be together. Let's make it. He said we supposed to, hang out tonight, and I'm gonna ask her, "It's me and you, boo. What's up?" And so they having a good little men's night. And then Micah and Blue come in there. And the first thing out of Micah's mouth was, "We had a good time, but the police officer wasn't nice to Micah." So of course all the guys were like, "Police? What the hell? What was up with the police?" And Micah tells them what happened. And because at first I felt like they were kind of like, "What did you do?" And he said, "Look, I lost Blue for a second. The police had him and I came up." He told them what went down. And everybody sort of gets quiet because again, you got a room full of black men and they get it. They get it. And Mr. Prosper turns to Mike. I mean, turns to Micah. He said, "It's okay if you're not okay." I thought that was pretty deep. And Micah goes on to explain to them, just that he's tired of it. He's just tired of having, it's always something. He's tired of dealing with the police and all of that. And Prosper tells him, he said, "Yeah, but you can't let him take your joy. Like at the end of the day, we know where we live, we know what it is, but you just can't let them take your joy. You can't let them have that much control." And they have a moment. They have a guy's moment, and it was cool. So ain't Vi. Here's what we about to get to it, y'all. We about to get to it. Ain't Vi, and I meant to say this last week. I missed it in my review last week. Ain't Vi gonna end up falling in love with that little boy, and he gonna end up being a part of the family. But right now, she's still mad at him for trashing her store, and she giving him a hard time. So she's sitting there. Somebody done got Ain't Vi Apple Watch, y'all, and she trying to get that thing to work. And of course, it's small. The writing is small, and all she want to do is work the pedometer. And so he says, "Look, I can help you out. I'm pretty good with things like that." I'm fine." And after a few minutes, she said, "Okay, well, go ahead, help me out." And he said, "Well, what are you trying to do?" "I just want to know how many steps I took." So he shows her how to work the pedometer and everything. And then he says, "You can check your email from there too." Well, why would I want to do a thing like that? She's just being ornery just to be ornery. But later on, we see her in the park. I guess she exercising. And who does she walk up on? She walks up on drunk ass Darla. Darla drunk as hell. clothes hanging all off of her head, looking crazy. She walking through the park looking for Blue. Talking about Blue is with Micah. And Vi was like, Blue is in New Orleans. What is going on with you? And of course, she realizes very quickly that Darla is drunk or high. She takes her back to the house and she says, "Look, I know me and you have history, but you've been doing better. What is it? What did this that made you give up your sobriety? Like, what took you here?" And she said, "I can't talk to you about this because, of course, the whole Blue situation is the reason why I ain't rocking with her to begin with." She said, "Look, tell me what's going on." And she ends up telling Aunt Vi the story and talks to Aunt Vi about how drunk she was and how that night she slept with two men, and but she was just out of it. She was out of it. And Aunt Vi goes on to tell her how well she couldn't give consent and it wasn't her fault. Here's where y'all gonna get mad at me. I 120% agree that if the man is sober and the woman is drunk, we got a problem. But when everybody in the room is drunk and high, whose responsibility is it to make sure? I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, y'all, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, but if he was drunk, just as drunk and high, because from the description of what her friend was saying, that they were all fucked up. So if everybody in the room is drunk and high, I mean, Aunt Vi was trying to make it seem like these men raped her, and I understand that she didn't give consent. I get that, but if they were just as drunk as she was, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't know. Y'all put it in them comments. I know y'all gonna light me up, and it's cool. Again, I 100% agree that we're talking about rape when there's a situation where the woman is not there to, or the man for that matter, can't give consent. Darla clearly could not give consent. She was drunk. She was high. She don't even remember what she took that night. But if everybody else was, and then if I was like, and they let it happen, hell, they were all just as drunk and high as she was. That's what they were doing at the time. And I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm not saying that. But I feel like Aunt Vi turned this into like a whole situation where Darla was anyway. So then Aunt Vi went on to talk about her again. I felt like she was projecting because she went on to talk about her situation with Jimmy Dale. And basically Jimmy Dale raped her repeatedly. She said it got to the point where she just stopped saying no because it didn't seem to do any good and she felt like that's just the way things were. So again, I have empathy um for what Ava went through with Jimmy Dale, but I don't feel like it's the same situation. Y'all, if I'm wrong, tell me. If this ain't right, y'all tell me. But I just don't see the connection. Then she did something I really don't understand. She called Ralph Angel to come over there. I don't understand why Ralph Angel needed to hear that story. I don't. Again, y'all tell me. They called Ralph Angel over there, and of course Ralph Angel was like, "Okay, I see the two of y'all sitting here looking the way y'all looking, and I'm scared already." And Darla goes on to tell him the story of the night that Blue was conceived, which is already something he don't want to think about. And not only is it that you slept with one man, you slept with two men, and you still don't know who the daddy is. I don't care. Like, I don't understand why Ralph Angel needed to be there for that. But what it did was it turned Darla into the victim. And now you got Ralph Angel feeling bad for it, feeling sorry for it, talking about something. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You don't have nothing to feel bad about. And he done stood up Daisha. He about to mess up his situation with Daisha, fooling around with drunk ass Darla. I'm feeling like James Caldwell now. I didn't understand that at all, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it because I don't see no purpose in that. Now y'all tell me in them comments, y'all break it down for me. Y'all make me understand why Aunt Vi called Ralph Angel over there. Why did Ralph Angel need to hear that story? Y'all make me understand it. And again, I am not trying to be insensitive to rape victims at all. Please don't misconstrue my words. Don't change my narrative. What I'm saying is that particular night, Darla voluntarily got drunk and high. And nobody made her take them drugs, and nobody make her get drunk. And I'm not saying that makes it okay for her to be for those guys to take advantage of her. But on the flip side, if they were all just as high and drunk as she was, who was really taking advantage of who? They were all fucked up. Maybe y'all make me understand. Make me understand it. And I know y'all gonna be mad at me. Y'all gonna tear my comments up. That's fine, but make me understand. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments, please.